I never imagined the worst day of my existence could get any worse. Still, as I stood at the final resting place of my parents holding back tears that felt like acid, my husband leaned over and whispered words that completely shattered what little resilience I had left. I want a divorce. At first I believed I had misheard him. Perhaps my sadness had distorted my hearing. But when I turned to face him, his gaze wasn't filled with empathy or care. His eyes were cold almost, relieved, as if he had been anticipating this exact moment to be free. I was speechless. I just stared at him, surrounded by the gentle sobs of loved ones and the priest's solemn prayers, wondering how someone I had trusted so deeply could be so cruel. That night, while mourners filled my residence, I locked myself in my parents' bedroom and wept until my body felt numb. My parents had been my pillars, and now they were gone. The one person who should have supported me through my sorrow was planning his departure. I realized in that moment I had truly lost everything. But what I did not know was that my lowest point would become the place where I found my strength. My husband John had always loved to be in control. He thrived on appearances, expensive automobiles, designer suits, and extravagant getaways. That the reality was most of his money was not his, it was mine. My parents had built a prosperous chain of companies over a number of years, and when they passed away, those assets were left to me. John, however, had been managing them on my behalf for a long time, always assuring me that business was not a woman's world and I should simply trust him. I did, until that funeral crushed my blind loyalty. The following days were painful. I was devastated by grief, yet John's behavior grew colder. He started sleeping in the guest room, staying out late and speaking to me only in short phrases. I soon learned why. He had been having an affair with his assistant for almost 3 years. The betrayal was like a knife twisting in a wound that was already bleeding. But instead of letting it ruin me, I made a decision. I would not stay a grieving widow and an abandoned wife. I would quietly rise up and reclaim what was mine. I began by meeting with my parents. Former lawyer, a man John had always kept me away from. He was shocked to learn I had not been directly involved in any of my inheritance dealings. With his guidance, I uncovered every contract, every account, every paper John had altered. To my amazement, almost everything was in my name. John had been operating under the pretense of power, but legally the fortune was never his. The discovery ignited a passion in me I had not felt in years. For weeks I played the part of the heartbroken wife, silent and quiet, while secretly regaining control. I reassigned lawyers, transferred business powers, and froze bank accounts. I learned quickly, studying late into the night, determined not to be naive again. Slowly, piece by piece, I dismantled the empire John believed he owned. Then came the day he handed me divorce papers. He walked into the living room with a smug look, tossing the envelope on the coffee table. "It's all over, Emily," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Sign these and I will be out of your life." I looked at him for a long moment before replying gently, "You're right. It is over." I signed, but not with despair. I signed with a victory hidden behind my pen stroke, because by then, John had no idea he was already ruined. The collapse happened swiftly. First, his credit cards stopped working. Then the luxury cars he flaunted were repossessed. He stormed into my home one morning, anger twisting his face, demanding to know what I had done. I did not answer. I simply gave him a folder filled with documents, the transfer of ownerships, the bank accounts under my name, the foreclosure notices stacking up against him. "You built your life on my parents' legacy," I told him, my voice steady, "and you thought you could throw me away like I was nothing. That everything you touched, every dollar you displayed was mine. You were leaving this marriage with exactly what you brought into it. Nothing." His face lost all color. He stuttered, swore, begged, but I stood firm. For the first time in many years, I was not scared of him. I was not the obedient wife he had controlled. I was the daughter of 2 people who had built an alien empire from nothing, and their resilience lived in me. Several weeks later, John's mistress left him unwilling to be with a man who had nothing to give. He moved into a run-down apartment, a shadow of the man who once bragged about his wealth. One evening he appeared at my workplace, disheveled, desperate, his eyes vacant. He got down on his knees in front of me and pleaded for another chance, promising he would change, that he still loved me. I looked at him, remembering the graveside where he had broken me in half, remembering the nights I cried alone, remembering the betrayal that almost destroyed me. And then I spoke the words I once thought I could never say. I don't love you anymore. I walked away from him without looking back. That moment was not just the end of a marriage. It was the start of my new life. I rebuilt my parents' company with renewed passion, creating programs that supported widows, single mothers, and women who had been silenced in their relationships. Every time I signed a new agreement, every time I cut a ribbon on a new branch, I felt their presence with me. My grief never went away, but it became my purpose. The message I take from my story is simple. Pain and betrayal may break you, but they can also mold you into someone more powerful. The people who try to bury you often forget you are a seed. And when you rise, you blossom where they least expect it.